This is a tutorial to walk you through the DIY lantern assembly kit. I provided this photo here for a little inspiration if you have trouble when it comes to picking colors for your projects. But you do not have to go by this. You can be as creative as you would like with these projects. We're going to start with your package, and you're going to want to first unwrap your package and set your pieces out so you know what you have included in your kit. Included in the kit will be this key. I would recommend for the moment just leaving it in the bag and setting it to the side. Then you are going to have 4 panel pieces. This is not a complete square, so you're going to have one section that is wider than the other panel. So we're going to line those up. Now, this piece will be our top lid. This will be the slot for our base. This piece will go with our top lid, and this is the final bottom base. On your final bottom base, you will notice there's an engraved line around the outer perimeter. This is to help line up your slot. Again, I mentioned earlier it is not a complete square, so be careful. As you can see, when I tried to line this up, I still have lines outside of the slot piece. That's to let you know that your piece is not oriented in the right direction. So you want to make sure that you know the correct direction that it's going to go. I recommend going ahead and assembling the base and the top before we do any kind of painting or staining. So we're going to start with the base. On the base, your slot piece, if you flip it over, you'll notice that there is 3M tape on the back. This is so you don't have to worry about using super glue. So you're going to peel off this paper here of the 3M tape. You're going to get your piece ready to put into position. And once you have it where you want it, you're going to gently place it down. And again, just make sure it's aligned properly, and then apply some pressure for 3 to 5 seconds. Now, once this is down, there is no taking it back up to try to realign it. So just be careful and make sure that you place it exactly where you would like it. Once that piece is together, we're going to set it to the side, and we're going to grab our top piece. Again, you should have a piece that's designed like this, and as you can see, this one has the engraved score lines again as well. This is to let you know this is the under surface of the lid. So this is going to be the top, and this is the under surface. Again, there are lines there to help you line it up. As you can see, 1, the lines don't line up, but then 2, the slot hole here is not lining up as well. So we want to make sure that it is oriented correctly. It is very important that the slot here is lined up perfect. Now to do so, we're going to set this piece down, and we're going to grab our key piece, and this is going to help us in doing this part. Now in the bag, you're going to have 2 pieces. We're going to take the circular piece and our 2 top lid pieces. We're going to stick it through the top, flipping it over, and it should fit perfectly. Now we are going to take this piece back off, and we're going to flip it like so, because now you will need some type of super glue. We're going to take the super glue and we're going to apply it around the piece, and then now we're going to take that piece where the glue side is facing up, and we are going to slip it back over the key piece. Make sure it's aligned, and then apply pressure for 5 to 10 seconds while the super glue hardens and adheres. Then you're going to take your second piece to your key, and you're going to slide it in just to make sure that your fit still remains solid. And this should be what your top piece looks like. You're going to remove your 2 key pieces, and we're going to set those to the side for painting. So now we have our base assembled, our top assembled, and our key pieces. We're going to set those to the side and talk about the panels next. On the panels, when they are assembled, you're going to have your panels that are facing inward and the panel side that's facing outward. On your panels that come in your package, it can be very hard to know which is which. So on the bottom tab, you'll see that I put a little star or an asterisk. This is indicating the side of the panel that's going to be facing inward. Okay, so when you go to assembly, that will just help it be a little easier for you. So once we've identified the inward facing pieces, now it's time to paint. And let's talk about painting for a moment. When painting, it's very important that you apply a thin layer. Your first decision is whether you're going to paint or stain. For paint, I usually recommend just an all-purpose acrylic paint. There's lots of colors to choose from, and it dries very quickly and it's easy to clean up. You can also decide to use stain. Obviously, when using stain, it's a little messier, but it can still turn out to be a beautiful project. But for my workshops, I usually just recommend and we use acrylic paint. Now, I have a lot of people ask me that they love the stained look, so I'm going to show you a tip and a trick that I like to use with the acrylic paint. You'll need some baby wipes. So I take one baby wipe out of the package. I take and I fold it to give it a little more strength. I take my paint, I just prime my paint, and I take and I just put one small drop on my baby wipe. I have a scrap piece of wood here, I'm just going to show you. So I take and I just do a stroking motion here. And as you can see, I can leave it a distressed look, or if I want more of a solid color with the wood grain coming through, I just wipe it until it's consistent, right? If that is a little too light, once it dries, I can come back again with the same technique and just apply another layer, and it will darken that up for you. So this is just a little trick that I like to do that gives you the stained look, but using acrylic paint that is not as messy. Now, when painting, again, applying a thin coat is the best. So I recommend putting a small dab of paint. It really goes a long way. You don't need a whole lot. So I have my paint. You can decide to use a foam brush. There is a small brush or a detailed brush. But I like to use also is, these are just makeup sponges. I'm going to take my paint, take my makeup sponge. I'm going to offload it to the side. And then all I do is a dabbing motion. And when doing so, as you can see, it applies a very thin layer. That way, once I've painted piece one all the way through all the pieces, by the time I come around, the pieces, one, are dry, and two, I don't have paint dripping off the edges into the little cracks and crevices here. And that is what I recommend when doing painting, because it helps just keep the even layer, a very thin layer, so it dries quickly for you. Once everything has been painted, now it's the time for the assembly. You have your base and your lid. So we are going to take our panel pieces and set those to the side and grab our base. You're going to make sure that you have the star facing inward, and again, one side is longer than the other. So when I go to put the panel into the slot, it should line up end to end. If I tried the other slot, you'll see that I have overhang, and that is not the correct slot that it needs to go in. So I'm going to apply the first panel. The star is going to face inward. Now these slots will be snug, so be careful when we're applying the pressure, and also be careful that you don't break off these tabs because they can be fragile until you get the full lantern assembled. Again, I'm just lining up the slots on the side, and then I'm going to make sure and push down that the tab at the bottom of the lantern is secured into the slot. And then I'm going to do this with the final piece. Again, just be very gentle and be patient when working with it. It will eventually slide into place. And I'm going to secure it down. Now, I'm going to take my top portion and my key. And you have an option here. You can leave the key as is. The only downfall, obviously, is when the key is in. If this piece is not glued in, this could potentially fall out or be misplaced, and your handle for your lid will not work. So I usually recommend just taking a dab of super glue and put it along the handle piece here, and then we just slide it in, and again apply pressure for 5 to 10 seconds until the super glue adheres, and then your lid will be assembled, and it just orients on the top of your lantern. And again, make sure you have it oriented in the right direction, because it is not, again, not a perfect square, and your lantern is complete. I do have one disclaimer for this project. Do not use a real candle. The options that I recommend are you can get a battery powered light to go on the inside, or you can get what they call fairy lights. It's a strand of LED lights that you can place inside and turn it on via battery. Again, this is not made for a real candle because it is a fire hazard.